Billiken fans, welcome back. It's Zach Miller and Peter Hale. It's the Midtown Madness Podcast. Before we get going, thank you guys so much for listening. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It's season 5, and once again, the Midtown Madness is brought to you by the good friends over at Two Men in a Garden. They're local, and they've got a great product. They've got salsas, they've got pickles, they've got pickling pouches. They've got all kinds of stuff, whether you want to just have a little chips and salsa or you want to use their products more like Peter in your day-to-day cooking. They've got amazing options, whatever your culinary tastes are. It's just, I love it. Pete and I had some Two Men in a Garden while I was up visiting him, and man, I just can't get enough of that medium salsa. Sometimes I like to hit it with a little blend just to get it a little textured. But that's why they also offer the cantina style, because they're looking out for you and what you like in a salsa. You can find any of their products at the local grocery stores, your Schertz's, your Deerbergs, or you can head over to their website at twomeningarden.com. If you're particular about your salsa preferences, that's where you want to go first. Follow them on social media at Two Men Salsa on Instagram and Twitter. Pete, we've got a commitment. We're going to talk about a trend on social media with Billikens, the coaching staff, specifically Brett Putz, and we're going to talk about that here in our next segment. But we knew there was a commitment coming, and we thought it could be Isaiah Salle, who had just visited maybe the previous weekend, but it turned out to be the guy pretty much currently on campus.
Yeah. So, are you talking about Cameron Hudson now?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Yeah. So he was he visited recently as well, right? And he's another class of 2025 guy. He did commit to St. Louis. He announced on Tuesday, and he's the 6'5" wing from East Lansing High School up in East Lansing, Michigan. Played AAU for Grand Rapids Storm program. Zach, have you had the fortune to go watch any video on him recently since the commitment?
I have not. I thought you were going to ask me if I'd been to Grand Rapids for some stupid reason.
You know, it's funny. I actually have not been to Grand Rapids. I don't live all that far away from Michigan, but still.
One of my favorite PS2 sports games was Arena Football Unleashed. And of course, I believe there was a team in Grand Rapids. So immediately, I think it's a Grand Rapids Rampage. It's the first thing I think of now anytime I hear Grand Rapids. Sorry, that's just your... That's just who you are. That's who you are, Grand Rapids.
It's like a minor league baseball town, right? You know, it's like that kind of level. So that fits. But besides SLU, he also visited Loyola, Santa Clara, Toledo. And then he also had offers from Bowling Green, Illinois State, Kent State, Akron, Central, Eastern, and Western Michigan, Miami, Ohio, Northern Illinois, Robert Morris, and Old Dominion. So basically the entire MAC was recruiting him and offering him.
And really, Northern Illinois is in Michigan too. So, I mean,
or Wisconsin, depending on on which angle you're looking at from there. But anyway, the staff's really high on Hudson and made him a priority. They think he's way underrated, and I don't disagree, Zach. I mean, he's not on any national rankings right now, but he really looks the part on video. And the newer and newer video I see, like he looks better and better. You know, so there's an arc here. There's real talent. There's real potential.
There's a path.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he's got the frame and everything. When he was offered, we wrote, Hudson is a smooth, sound scoring guard with a natural, replicable jumper. He has range on his shot to go with the excellent form and consistency on it. He gets to the rim. He's got good size and strength for his position, and also helping him to be a strong rebounder. And I kind of take smooth as the key word there. He just has a really natural, understated quality to his game, right? He doesn't force things. He's really efficient in his movements. He does a little bit of everything. It doesn't, like, he's not one of those players that immediately, like, you see something on video and you're like, oh my God, you know, like that kid's talent is sky high. It's more subtle with him. And I kind of like that about him. He's one of those guys I imagine you play against, and then you look up and you're like, oh, that kid's got 23 points. I had no idea.
That was a Goodwin thing, wasn't it? Goodwin would
Ugh.
do that a lot.
Goodwin would do that because so many of his points were the scrappy kind, offensive rebounds and stuff like that. But so he told Zag's blog right after the commitment, I chose SLU really because of the way Coach Schertz likes to play. I'm able to envision myself in the offense and feel like I can be really successful here. They have the resources and the people to be a really good basketball team, which is kind of a lot of what Schertz said when he took the job, right?
I
So I
just
like that.
this is what we talked about. And maybe we didn't talk about it. Maybe I'm putting words in our mouth retroactively, but I mean, we talked about this when Schertz was hired, and we talked about getting a system coach, and this is how you kind of beat the game. This is how you Mike McD it with Worm and Teddy KGB. This is how you beat the game, this NIL game, by bringing in a coach who is going to appeal to the basketball junkies.
Yeah.
The guys that cannot get enough of this game. And we're going to talk about basketball junkies a little bit more in the show, and about how our coaching staff just can't get enough of this game.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And you want to find guys who fit that mentality, like you, who are real students of the game, who have that work ethic. So Zag's blog, in their little write-up about his commitment, called him an athletic wing who can shoot the ball at a high clip. Our friend Jack Godar said Hudson can shoot, get to the bucket, defend, and brings a lot of athleticism. He has a highly projectable frame, and his dad started on Michigan State's national championship winning team. So, by the way, his dad, Andre, averaged over 10 and 6 a game as a junior for that 2000 national championship team at Michigan State, which also had Jason Richardson, Mateen Cleaves, Morris Peterson, and Charlie Bell.
On my deathbed, when I'm sure Alzheimer's has ravaged my brain, the one person I will remember is Mateen Cleaves.
Yeah.
There will be no other college basketball player, but Mateen Cleaves will stick in my brain. For what reason, I have no clue.
He was kind of it's funny how the college star of that group is not necessarily the NBA. I mean, all of those guys played in the NBA, those four other guys I listed off. But Cleaves probably had the shortest and least decorated career of all of them, I think. Jason Richardson, I think, the longest career.
He had a hell of a career as a broadcaster. I think he's still broadcasting.
Cleaves?
Yeah, I think he's on a CBS sports broadcast.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think so.
But so anyway, I love that team. But Hudson, he was listed on that team as 6'8", 240. So you kind of have to wonder if Cameron has some more growing to do too. Think about Kelly and Kellen Thames, like a couple years ago, Thames didn't weigh as much, wasn't quite as tall as he is now. He might still be growing as well. So Hudson also plays his high school ball with KJ Torbert, who's the son of former Michigan State player Kevin Torbert, who was really, he kind of started right as Andre Hudson was leaving. So he was there like 01 to 05, about the time frame when I was in college. And so Torbert and Hudson, the Suns, took East Lansing to the state quarterfinals last season. It sounds like they're pretty locked in heading into their senior year. West Pine Bills said the talented guard out of Michigan is a versatile player with a great basketball pedigree. Watch him for 5 minutes, and it's not hard to see how many ways he can help the Billikens once he's on campus next year. And the last thing I'll say is from Stu, with 6'6" Cameron Hudson and 6'11" Jax Kerr, SLU has landed 2 of its top targets. Other than waiting on a decision from Isaiah Seeley, who visited over the weekend, the staff might be done with the class of 2025 for now. Now, that tweet, Zach, was...
It predated some things.
Earlier in the week, right? And,
yes.
And yeah, you're right. Some things have definitely changed since then.
Things move fast, as we've learned in the last few years with college basketball. And obviously, it seems the plan on the side of Josh Schertz and the staff has changed from what Stu Durando tweeted, because Billiken Twitter started to figure out a trend with the way Brad Putz would tweet, and he tweeted out the same picture of Corey Tate rubbing the Billikens' belly when Jax Kerr committed and Cameron Hudson committed. So it seemed as though we had a third commitment that would be announced, we'd hoped, in the last day, 48 hours maybe.
Yes.
However, we have not gotten official word, but Pete, I think we can deduce who it likely is based on kind of who was on campus at the time.
Yeah, so look at this segment in two ways. Like the number one headline is, here's the guy who visited on Thursday and Friday. We're going to talk in detail about this visitor.
Yes.
And the second headline is, if he committed by the time you listen to this, here's our new commitment. In addition
We're covering
to
all bases.
right. In addition to the tweet that you mentioned, Stu Durando actually did tweet out he is expected to commit soon.
Yes.
And I kind of thought that would come. Stu said that on Saturday. I thought that it would come to today as we record on Sunday, yesterday as you listen on Monday, but it didn't happen yet. So Luke Lechkowski is the guy. He visited Thursday and Friday. We started to get some clues about the commitment on Saturday, as we said. He's a 6'7" small forward from St. Mark's High School in Texas, plays for Texas Impact AAU, which is an Under Armour program. And speak about pedigree here, Zach. It's amazing. His dad played basketball at Wash U and his mom played volleyball there. She actually transferred from UNC after her freshman year and became one of the most decorated athletes in Wash U history. Two-time D3 National Player of the Year. She led the Bears to 3 straight national championship, one of which was the first undefeated season in D3 history in volleyball. Just an amazing athletic pedigree there, and add to that, his older brother, Andrew, just graduated from Penn, where he played 3 full seasons. His older brother, Tate, the second one, is a second-year player at Army West Point. He only appeared in 3 games as a freshman, so I don't know if he was hurt or why he didn't play more. SLU actually did recruit both of the older brothers while Ford was here, but I don't think we offered either of them. I think they were, just being Texas kids. I think, we obviously had an assistant coach who recruited that area pretty hard. So he was in on those guys. And I want to say one of them even visited campus. But as I understand, they still have some St. Louis ties. So
they do.
Yeah.
Funny you mentioned, it's the thing about that, Pete, you mentioned local ties. He's also the cousin of Justin Graham, friend of the show, who we had on to talk about Johnny Klein and Simon Betcher. He's the cousin of that guy.
Yeah. Awesome. And so when you've still got, family up in St. Louis, I think it's one of those things with the older brothers, like it's easy to pop in for an unofficial visit. If it's a recruit that you're, kind of already talking to, hey, we go to St. Louis every once in a while.
Yeah.
And it's like, great, swing by campus, we'll show you around, that sort of thing. I don't think either of them got an offer or took an official visit, but to me, Luke looks like he's going to be the best of the 3. He also had offers from Rice, Harvard, SIU Carbondale, Drexel, Bucknell, Boston Army, Georgia Southern, South Dakota, Sacramento State, McNeese, and Texas A&M Corpus Christi. He just visited Harvard recently, but they just got a commitment from another player with his same size and position. Rice and SLU were both out to see him on September 5th before, a couple weeks before his visit to SLU. After his initial offer, we wrote that Lechkowski is a versatile wing forward who can stretch the floor with his shooting. He handles the ball well for his size. He goes to the rim, finishes through contact. He defends multiple positions and rebounds at a high level. He's an extremely intelligent player. So, Zach, I watched some more highlights a couple days ago before there were any kind of rumors of the commitment, but just knowing that he was visiting. And he's 6'7" is where you see him listed in most places, but although he puts himself as 6'8" on his own like X and Instagram profiles.
As you should.
Right. So his brother Tate is listed as a 6'8" forward, and Andrew was listed as a 6'6" guard when he was at Penn. So his current height might be about it. I don't know if there's more upside with his height. But still, he's kind of like Jimerson in his ability to always be on the perimeter and ready to shoot. His form's a little bit different. Don't think like he's a complete 1-to-1 replacement for Jimerson, but he's taller. He just always has the same form, ready to shoot. His feet are always squared the same way when he's out on the perimeter. And if you can find the kid, I mean, he can really knock it down. He shot over 40% in the AAU circuit this summer. And I've been I think he averaged like 25 points a game at St. Mark's last year as a junior. So I'm going to be keeping track of what he does this year. Texas is definitely loaded with talent. And even though St. Mark's is a private school, it's not in the highest class. I don't think it's one or two down. He still plays a high level of competition down there in high school as well. So really smart kid too. Obviously, both parents, Wash U, brothers are at Penn and West Point. So like obviously this is no slouch in the classroom, and another favorable Jimerson comparison there as well.
Do you get PTSD when you hear about a wing? Because we had like, I mean, the Ford teams just had so many. They had a lot of wings.
We yes, yes, we did, but I think there's a very deliberate way that this roster is being built. When you look at the guys who are going to be moving on next year, the guys coming in, you kind of see like, okay, and remember, rosters are expanding, right? We get two extra positions. So what might feel like, oh, an extra player at this or that position really might not be that. So we know we've already got a big, a guard, and now a wing coming in. But the next natural position is a point guard. I think that's going to be, if we take another early commitment this fall, I think that's what we're going to see.
Pete, what do you think about Isaiah Seeley's campus visit with no commitment? We thought that was going to be Cameron Hudson.
Yeah, we did. For a minute there, we did. But I had kind of gone back and looked at the notes on Seeley heading into his visit at SLU, and I think he was a little more open than some recruiting insiders sort of led us to believe. And the reason for that is
You're telling me that somebody online was dishonest?
not that they were dishonest, it's just that they probably, whoever their source was, didn't have a complete picture. It's and look, it's all you know it's all at a snapshot in time too, right? Like
Yes.
what's true 2 Thursdays ago might not be true today. And I'll explain why. Like, so Isaiah Seeley was here last weekend. We got some photos, the hashtag not committed, as players kind of have to do now so they don't set any fan base into a frenzy. But we already knew he was going to be taking an official visit to Ole Miss for a football weekend. And Zach, that's not easy necessarily for SLU to compete with.
No, it is. That's tough. I have been to an Ole Miss tailgate,
Mhm.
and it, besides being one of the hottest days of my life, like
Yes.
the most muggy ass day, Mississippi days, it's a sight to behold. It is hard not to get swept up in the atmosphere.
Sure. And they'll take recruits around on golf carts and just be like, look at this. This place is a blast. It's great. It's like this 10 weekends every fall, and then roll that into basketball and take it from there, blah, blah, blah. So besides the NIL offer that an SEC school has, it's one of those things that depending on what a recruit's looking for, it's hard for us to compete with. But in addition to Ole Miss, Zach, who we saw as our main competition for him, Arkansas with Coach John Calipari has been out to see him recently. They're the big in-state program with deep pockets, obviously. South Carolina wants him out for a visit. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State kind of remain in the mix. They've kind of been lingering there, but not recruiting him that heavily, just kind of keeping tabs. But BYU just started recruiting him a few days before his visit to SLU. So they're the latest one to get involved. So if I'm to assess this situation at a high level, SLU and Ole Miss still kind of appear to be the most serious at this point. But if he waits to make his decision and allows these other schools to get involved, there are 5 pretty major players interested. And if he were to become a priority for any one of them, their NIL budgets are pretty significant. So as much as we might want to think it's a 2-horse race with us and Ole Miss, it might be a little short-sighted to call it that. And what I'm seeing now is a lot of recruits committing every day. So there are going to be other targets that South Carolina, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, BYU, Arkansas might be missing out on as time goes on. And then Seeley moves up the board. So the longer it goes on, the worse it is for SLU. Maybe he takes his visit to Ole Miss. I don't know what weekend it's going to be. I haven't looked at their football schedule. Maybe he takes a visit to Ole Miss and then calls it between one of the two at that point. maybe he drags it out through the entirety of October. I don't know. That's where things get complicated because contingency plans have to be in place.
Yeah, I think it's tough for any school of the Billikens stature, or at least basketball program, to have a player come on campus and then leave and then head to a school uh with a bigger budget, a bigger, kind of athletics program.
Yeah, and I almost don't know what's worse, right? Like letting a guy get away without a commitment is always tough, but you want to close that sale. But at the same time, if you get a guy like him who's a legit top 60 to 75 prospect, solid 4-star, if you get a guy like him who commits early to you and then after the fact gets a little buyer's remorse because he kind of starts to see what else is out there, that's almost more dangerous. So I don't know which is worse. You just have to be as honest as you can with the guy and give him the best pitch you can and hope that it's a fit both ways.
We've got some players that we need to close the book on as it pertains to St. Louis University's recruitment of them, at least for
Yeah.
now. I say this a lot, that we're closing the loop or closing the book. I don't think you can ever truly close the book on a player until he has decided to move on to other opportunities besides college basketball.
Yeah, this is why I try to, when I come up with these bios for guys, I make sure and save them all, just because they do pop up again down the road. The first one is pretty interesting, Zach, because he's a guy SLU's coaches actually went out to see recently, Jalen Lawal. So the staff visited him down at his high school in Texas. He committed to Tulsa on Thursday. He does have a high school teammate who we're also still recruiting. So something to keep in mind. But he's a guy who visited us and vice versa and seemed like a pretty serious recruit. So it's important to note that one. Keaton Wagler is a 6'6" guard out of Shawnee, Kansas. He committed to Illinois this week. When SLU offered several weeks ago, I want to say like late July, he was at about our level. And then he started taking the official visits he had on his schedule: Murray State, Carbondale, and then all of a sudden Minnesota, and then Illinois. So it's like as he was starting to take his official visits, he was getting like Big Ten offers and his stock was just exploding. That was happening right around the time we offered. So I don't know if we were ever really in the mix there. He rode a pretty big wave, thinking he was like a Valley level recruit, and then ending up in the Big Ten. It just happens sometimes. The third one is Devin Booker. Yes, that is his real name. The staff offered him a couple months ago. He committed to George Mason on Thursday. He had offers from like 5 or 6 A10 schools, so the odds were pretty good that we'd run into him again if he didn't commit to SLU, and I don't think he ever visited or anything. And then, Zach, this is a fun one because the first offer from Travis Ford's staff to a member of the class of 2025 went to Danny Carbuccia, a point guard out of the Bronx, in March 2021. So exactly 3.5 years ago, actually a little bit over that because I think it was early March. He was in 8th grade at the time. This week he committed to UMass. So that's one that has been around forever, and it hasn't seemed like we've been involved with him in a very long time. But one of those names I just kind of kept around, and it was interesting to see where he went. When he was coming into high school, it was thought that he was kind of like a top 25 kid in that class, and it's not that he fell off completely, but he just didn't really get much taller. He's still a pretty good point guard, and
I know that feeling well.
he peaked early. Yes.
No, well, hold up.
Height. His
okay.
height. His
I
height
didn't.
stopped at yeah.
I think mine just shot like freshman to sophomore year, and then it was nothing.
Just done.
Yeah, it's done.
I was kind of the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us. But yeah, we really won't run into him because UMass is moving on to less green pastures, in my opinion, next year.
Speaking of one of our favorite short kings,
Yeah.
Yuri Collins, actually well, he's not a short warrior anymore. Maybe he'll be a short king. Maybe the Kings will pick him up. Who knows?
I still think he remains in the Warriors G League system.
But unfortunately, I think we jinxed his vacation, his workcation to Hawaii. I think we jinxed it, Pete. I think this is on us.
Yeah, I hope he didn't go buy some new board shorts or anything like that. Any shirts or
I'm picturing him walking into the Tommy Bahama store.
Yes, right.
Him and West Pine Bills. One of them. One of them just going
Yeah,
into West County Mall and
right.
just blowing out whatever Hawaiian shirts they can find.
I love that image, but unfortunately, the Warriors did cut him, so
Yes.
he's not going to get the Hawaiian training camp trip we thought he would get after all.
He
Hmm.
could probably still he could go to Hawaii on his own though.
He could, but
It would be like forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Hawaii, yeah,
He takes a trip to Hawaii just to get over the whole thing, and then he runs into the team, and it's very awkward. They're with their
yeah,
new backup point guard. It's a very odd scenario.
you really got to stay at a different hotel.
Yes.
Maybe on a different island even.
Not in the Kapua suite either. Never get the Kapua suite. Uh, is Josh Schertz addicted to basketball? Should we be concerned about our baby boy Josh?
Oh yeah, he's got it bad. I mean, we already saw the picture from his brother. I think was it Fish who came to St. Louis and Schertz and his brother went and Schertz had the laptop open, uh, which I don't blame him. I mean, that would be
He's
me
more
at,
of a goose guy.
no, same thing, just younger. That would be me at a Fish or a Goose show. Is
Just
like have my.
watching slew women's soccer on
I
on
mean,
the live stream.
I would rather be doing that. But yeah, so at that point, I thought, oh, this guy's got it bad. Um, but this article, Zach, was really a fun read from Stu Durando on Thursday the 19th. Josh Schertz immerses himself in the NBA, and some teams have returned the interest. Did you get a chance to read this one?
I did a little bit. I of course saw the glorious pull quote, the real money
Yeah.
shot.
Oh my God, that is the
I
best
mean,
clip.
it is. I do this with things nobody cares about, and I
Yeah.
send it to people. This is what I do. I send things that are weird to me to people who are like, I don't care.
Yeah.
But I'm
Right.
just so glad that these guys actually give a shit.
It really, yes, you're happy those people are out there. I mean,
Yes.
like so much of what
I'm happy
exists in the world.
I'm happy they posted up in a couple offices in Chaffetz Arena, to be honest
Yeah,
with you.
man, it is very refreshing. I love it. But let's go with that pull quote first. Actually, it's the last bullet in this. Bovair recently sent a text in a thread, including Schertz and graduate assistant Jason Fang, about a set the Indiana Fever run for Caitlin Clark. As he scrolled the text thread,
Sicko.
he found the link from Fang of a video Bovair made 8 years ago of former NBA player Charlie Villanueva. There are texted videos of an action run by BYU, one of a pro team in Australia, one of the French team at the Olympics, and others of the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Spanish team. Quote, he'll send Fang and I clips of action in the Turkish league at 11:30 at night, Bovair said. That is just these guys like
Dude, go touch. Hey, respectfully, Josh, go touch some grass, buddy. I just that is preposterous.
There's part of me that like, oh, I would love to be a fly
I'll
on
take
the wall.
Hey, look, Josh, if you don't want to ever take a vacation, you can send me on a vacation.
There you go.
I'll just take one for the team.
Somebody's got to use those miles.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, if you're not going to use them, it only makes sense.
So there's part of me, Zach, where I look at something like this and I'm like, oh, I would love to be on their text thread. Or I'd love to be a fly on the wall in their meetings. And then there's part of me that's like, no. I'm 101, and they're all graduate level in terms of their understanding of this stuff. And I would just be so out of my depth. I mean, like they are just the nerdiest of nerds, and I love it. But back to the NBA angle of this article, Zach. Schertz had a phone call and sit down with the Oklahoma City Thunder head coach.
Are we panicking right now? Are we panicking?
Boy. Is he getting
I don't like this. Stay away from our sweet boy.
Yeah. And when he went into the Thunder's film room, they had the Indiana State video pulled up, or in just video of Indiana State. And he was, obviously completely flattered by that. But they, their coaches, the Thunder's coaches, were like running through stuff that he was doing. And his quote about that was, good NBA coaches are continuous learners, and you can find good stuff anywhere, whether it's D1, lower division, you've got high school stuff. I mean, there's great coaches all over the place. So in addition to OKC, he has plans to visit the Utah Jazz and Denver Nuggets training camps in the next few weeks. Zach Bovera will visit the Memphis Grizzlies, and Phil Gaetano will spend time with the Boston Celtics. Schertz said he watches more NBA film than college at this point. So Zach, like, however long Schertz stays at SLU, I really do wonder if his next job isn't like an NBA assistant job, you know?
Shut
It
up!
seems like
Shut up!
it seems like that's kind of where his mind's at. But in the meantime, I'm going to enjoy the impact that that has on SLU, because like it's where the game's going in college, just more slowly. And I can't wait to see what these guys run.
Yeah, I mean, he's just he's an insane person.
Yeah, he
I
is.
don't. I'm just glad he's on our side. Uh,
Yes.
oh, by the way, I didn't like that Quinn Snyder got a shout out.
You know,
Josh, stay away from Cocaine Quinn.
it's been a long time since all that went down, and everybody deserves a second chance, right? It
Fine,
seems like it seems
fine,
like
fine, fine.
it seems like Quinn
Fine.
has found his place in the NBA, and I think that's.
Yeah. There's no co-eds in the NBA.
I mean, he's not a young man anymore.
Sure, he still looks like he's like 28.
As I say that, I see my own face in the Zoom call and think like, yeah, I think side by side, I don't know if I would compare favorably.
Glass houses, Pete.
That's
Glass
right.
houses.
That's right.
What do we think about Slew for the Lou? The new kind of slogan.
It was in Sealy's, tweet, Instagram post about his visit, and you were seeing it pop up more and more. Slew for the Lou. I'll say, Zach, the reason I like it, in addition to the obvious rhyme, is just that we've always talked about making this the city's team. Screw Illinois and Mizzou, get them
Yeah.
out of here. This is our city. We should be the city's team. And we just haven't won enough to justify that in a long time. It feels like really since, honestly, Spoon. As much as I want to say Majerus, we haven't like sustained a period where I really felt like this was the community's team in that long. It's kind of just that's purely a vibes thing. But I kind of like it in that regard. I wanna own the St. Louis aspect of it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like that it's not it's the hashtag. It's not the like team culture. You know what I mean? This is like let your Billiken roar. The roar is back. It's a new game.
Mhm.
What else do we got? I don't know. All the slogans they've had in previous years.
Roll Bills.
Roll Bills. But I like it. It's unique. I like when we talk about Slew for the Lou, I really want to see not only Slew try to embrace, the city. They've tried, and I think there's something to be said for winning, of course, but I really want to see them be the city's team, in more than just lip service, in more than just a hashtag on Twitter. Like, you have to be out in the community as much as possible. That's really where you build the long lasting fans that are going to be your donors of tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
that's right.
I mean, to be the city's team, you can win, and that's going to be a fever pitch for, a couple years, 3, 4, maybe as long as until the NCAA collapses in on itself. Maybe, I don't know, but to truly make that a lasting impression on the city, it's got to be grassroots. It can't just be, hey guys, did you know we're the only Division I school in the city?
Yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah,
marketing,
yeah,
entry level marketing stuff. You
I
you
know.
just sometimes you just have to flat out tell people
Mhm.
this is who we are, this is what we are, this is what we
Yeah,
do.
but I just want to see us connect a little bit more on
Yeah,
a more grassroots level.
sure.
Uh, Um, let's look at a little A10 news, but then let's circle back and connect it to SLU and maybe what we could see going forward with Billiken basketball.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
Zach.
Adrian, well, I can't say his name. You're gonna have to do this.
Wojnarowski, but we'll just call him Woj. I mean, everybody in basketball knows him as Woj, right?
I don't know who he is. I
So
don't follow the NBA, but
so
I have an
this
idea.
this was the biggest college basketball story of the week because Woj has developed into, along with one other guy, but Woj is probably 1A in that rivalry, is the number one newsbreaker of NBA information, and most of it is like trade deadline related or draft related. Like it's the little bits of player news, team news that comes out. And what Woj is always the first one to announce like a big trade, for example, a three-way trade, and they'll call it a Woj bomb on Twitter or anywhere else. And so he's become a very well-known, well-compensated ESPN employee for that, for breaking all that news. And there have been in the last couple of years profiles written about him where it's like he's on his phone 25 hours a day. He's just working constantly, never sleeps, never rests, like never takes a break.
There's a gentleman who was just arrested who they said never sleeps too. So I think probably that's not. We probably shouldn't.
Yeah, it's not a good thing. And
Yeah.
hey, Woj is not an old guy. I mean, maybe I think he was St. Bonaventure class of 91 if memory serves.
Did he go
S
to St. Bonaventure? I had no idea.
that's he's probably their most famous alum. So anyway, he retires from ESPN. He takes the job at St. Bonaventure as the GM of their men's basketball program. And apparently he's not getting a very big salary for it. It's kind of like just an entry-level staffer salary. So
Like
this is kind of a retirement job.
He's making $35,000 a year.
I don't know what it is. But like, I mean, he was making a lot of money at ESPN to do what he did, but I think he probably just hit a point where it was like comfortable, did what he wanted to do, maybe burnt out, right? I mean, like if his life was what it sounded like that's not the most fun way to go through life. It's a lot of money that you can't use because
when you're
never
not a
really off.
robot like Rothstein.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. I know Rothstein would love that job, because he's not human. But there is also a conversation, Zach, that's kind of been had about, and this is kind of ongoing, about Woj and guys like him, where it's access journalism, right? Where he and people who do what he does are afraid to break unflattering stories about teams or players because that could mean the end of their access. That could mean pissing off a contact who then isn't going to give you information from that point on. So it's one of those jobs where it's almost not really journalism, right? Because even though he's breaking stories, he's breaking news, he's also sitting on a lot of stuff.
He's just breaking transactions.
He really is. He's a wire. He's
Yes.
He's the first.
Congrats, you're not a human.
The first element of a news wire. Like he's the very first. He's the one who gets called and has the honor of putting it out there, and that's worth a lot to ESPN because they get the click for that, they get the attention for that, they get to put it on their airways first, all of those things. It's not necessarily quote unquote journalism. And I think after a while too, it's like,
there's a reason
I don't
they're
know.
called sports writers,
Pete. I would always have. Yeah, there are a lot of sports writers who are real journalists, though.
Yeah, but I mean, sports writing, like your day-to-day sports writing is kind of just, again, it's reporting. I
understand.
There's journalism and I think there's reporting, but
yeah, sure. There's both. But anyway, so for whatever reason, he's not doing it anymore. But Zach, let's shift over to the other part of this conversation, which is the GM role and what that means for him at St. Bonaventure and what that means in general for college basketball, and kind of how do you view that and what could SLU do with that?
Well, I texted you because during this offseason, we had a lot of discussion about Corey Tate and, what exactly, what his role on the staff would be in a new staff that kind of has taken a different approach to kind of the task of running a college basketball program. And I could see, through the transition of Corey Tate here at SLU, I could see him potentially being that GM role. I think his ability to create relationships, his charisma, he seems super relatable, at least to the
Yeah.
players. I mean, I just, with his ability to communicate with, that high school basketball star, I just think it's a good guy to have that would be in a position of negotiation, uh, a position to kind of sell recruits on the vision. I think he's your sales team, and I think that's exactly what a GM should be, along with kind of picking up the pieces and keeping everybody happy, and being kind of like being a fiscal vibes guy.
Yeah. The other interesting part of it though, Zach, is there is an element to the GM job. Like that's the sales job, right?
Yeah.
Like that's I'm the head of the front office, and I'm the one who closes the deal, gets guys in the door, but also the one who kind of organizes how our dollars are spent, right?
Mhm.
Like I think that's something you can spend a lot of time on as a coach now. And I'm imagining, having just talked about what Schertz really likes to do as a coach, I'm imagining that's probably not his favorite aspect of it. And
I'm gonna
that's
go with
something,
no.
yeah, that's something that it does make sense for someone else to be like always looking at the roster and how dollars are allocated and where dollars are coming from and things like that. And the head coach and the athletic director, as we've said before on the show, absolutely need to be involved with that, if not flat out running point on that. But there can be another person who, aside from the speeches and the glad handing and talking to boosters and all that kind of stuff, someone who really is, at all times looking at the full vision of this program, where the dollars are coming from, where they should be going, keeping guys happy. And so I don't know about Tate's sort of back office, organizational numbers acumen. No idea about that, because
I mean, this might
what
be
we
more
do
of
see,
a director of basketball operations adjacent role, not
sure.
necessarily
Well, I mean,
a Tate
all of
type
it's
role.
a team effort anyway.
Correct.
But I guess what I'm saying is like, you know, I don't know what his role in all of that would be like, but certainly the sales aspect of it and keeping guys happy, right? Because it's not just getting them in the door with a dollar figure, it's retaining them and making sure they understand their role, the vision for them, all of that sort of stuff. And I think Tate is absolutely essential to this program in that he was under Ford, and I think he remains under Schertz like that as well. So he does have a lot of attributes, I think, that lend itself to that role well. But I will be interested, because it's such a new thing, what that role comes to mean for different programs over time, and whether it's like pro sports where GM kind of means one thing for the most part at a lot of places, the main difference being what power he has relative to the head coach and the owner in a lot of sports. But it more or less means the same thing in pro sports anywhere you go. And what will it mean in college sports, because it's just a different financial model.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem more like the GM is above. It's obviously the GM is above the head coach in, pro sports, like, hockey, any of them really. I feel like with college sports, the general manager kind of, they're more of like a HR director almost. I don't like kind of that bad. They kind of take the direction from the coach, right? Like, hey, like it's like what's her name in draft day? Just make it work. Make it work. Coach says just make the numbers add up. Like,
Sure.
so I don't really know. I just thought I just saw, Tate, people weren't exactly sure where his future would lie. I thought that might be something, to ponder.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Pete, I have a Woj bomb for you.
What's that, Zach?
2 Men in a Garden salsa. It's great. It tastes amazing. And you can get it at any local grocery store.
Yeah. So, Zach, one regret I have from your visit last week is I don't think you actually tried one of the pickles that I've
Mm.
kind of been quick fermenting in those pickling pouches. Did you?
No,
You did not. Okay.
I'm a big sissy.
Because now what I have going, and I've mentioned this before, but now I have them both active, like I'm cycling them in and out, is reusing the same pouches. And it's almost like, are you familiar with the Solera method in wine?
No, but this
Where
sounds
you
like when you season a cast iron pan.
No, well, not quite, but it's where you kind of remove an equal amount of liquid from one barrel and it goes to the next barrel. And over time, you're blending different vintages of wine within the same barrel
Okay.
to get a more consistent product across
This
vintages.
sounds very scientific.
There's a little bit of science to it, I guess a little bit of art too. I'm definitely more on the art side with this,
Are you
but
telling me Two Men in the Garden has wine now?
I have two pickling pouches. Well, fermentation is fermentation, Zach. They're
It's
in the
true.
back of my fridge next to the sauerkraut that I fermented here in the basement. But so I've got the two next to each other now, and both of them are on their second or later group of pickles in them. And I gotta say, like, they're still really good. Like, I was worried that if I used it a second time, once I ate all the pickles out of the first one, fill a little bit of liquid left, seal the pouch, do the next batch, I thought there would be a big drop off. And it really hasn't been. Like, they're still really, really good. And so kind of been having fun experimenting with different cuts, sizes, shapes, all that kind of stuff. Having fun with it, still getting really, really good results every time I put stuff in there. And for just $5.49 a pouch, you can go over to twomeninthegarden.com. You just add whatever veggies you want to throw in there, some warm water, a little bit of vinegar, seal it up, they say give it 3 days. I say give it a couple more, and then start experimenting. This is like the easiest shortcut to home fermentation you'll ever find. And the results in my many experiments now have been great every time. Give it a try, twomeninthegarden.com. Go to their DIY pickling pouches and let me know. I don't know if Zach will be able to relate quite yet, but let me know what your results are. I am genuinely curious to see what kind of results people are getting out of these on their own. Again, twomeninthegarden.com.
While I was up in Cincinnati, Peter made me unwittingly contribute to the Cincinnati NIL fund. Um, yeah, I just
That's
want to
right.
throw you under the bus. Speaking of being thrown under the bus, this week felt like being thrown under the bus as a Billiken men's soccer fan. Not a fun week.
It really wasn't, Zach. No, this was a couple of disappointing results,
I
and
I
I
I
don't know what's going on, man.
I have a question when we get into the LaSalle game that I want to run by you. But
Yeah.
let's start off with this 2-2 draw versus Lipscomb Tuesday the 17th. The Billikens opened up the scoring in the 7th minute. It was really Luis Lara all game. That's really where the only Billiken offense has come from this season.
Yep.
In a lot, I mean, you've got some Anderson goals, but Luis Lara has really been the one to kind of step up. It came right after a goal that was called off due to a close offsides call. And of course, 10 minutes later, um, the Billikens had a couple near misses off set pieces. This is going to be a running theme is misses off set pieces, not only in this game, but in the LaSalle game as well. 50th minute, Pete, Lipscomb ties it up.
Yeah, this was a goal from William Bryan. Mateo Colombo crossed it in from the left. You like that name? Jeremy Albanel
Oh
punched
no,
it
that was
out.
William Bryan is what I was laughing at.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm trying. Are you kidding me?
Jeremy Avenel punches the ball out, and Bryan was right there to put the rebound back. And then in the 67th minute, Zach, they added to the lead. Daniel, or not to the lead, they got the lead. Daniel Stampatori of Lipscomb buried a PK to make it 2-1. The foul was called on Tiago Lopez. Definitely some dramatic flair from the Lipscomb player on this one. He went down a little easy, gave it all he had, and he earned the call. It was a close call, but disappointing not to get the result out of that one. And in a 2-1 hole, we started getting some desperate play from Sluzak, but eventually it paid off.
Yeah, it did in the 83rd minute. Everybody could relax a little bit. Luis Lara tied it up after a perfect through ball from Max Floriani. All Lara had to do was tap it to the left to lose the keeper and give himself an open net. By the way, Daniel Stampatori sounds like a kid straight off the hill that went to play at Indiana in like the 80s.
Yeah, totally.
There was a late call on Seth Anderson for making contact with keeper in the box. The ball popped out and Anderson scored. The ref blew the whistle for a foul. The contact was initiated by the keeper, not Anderson. As a keeper, I'm gonna probably be like, you know what? Don't touch the keeper because you're gonna get called.
Yeah, I initially was kind of like, all right, that's probably coming. Like I didn't get excited about the goal, right? Like so you heard some cheering in the crowd, but I was kind of like, ooh, I don't know. There was contact there. And whether or not the keeper initiated it, and in this case it's a close call, and if it's in the middle of the field with two other players, that's another thing. But I tend to err on the side of conservatism toward it's the keeper, right? Like I generally go that way, and I don't think, I don't feel like we were completely robbed in
No,
this
but
one.
it always feels though when they do give the goal that it was the right call. Like in a collision with the keeper, when they do, it
Oh, I see.
always feels right.
Yeah.
I think they did that for a slew women last year had one
Mm,
that really could have been easily wiped away, but the ref was like, no, that was clean.
yeah.
The shots in this one, 13. Well, it was just frustrating. This whole game, the Billikens dominated the first half. They outshot Lipscomb 6-1. They were winning possession, tackling effectively, being aggressive. It felt like one of those games that was going to break open for the Billikens eventually, and that just never was the case. Even with the Billikens kind of dominating in corners, more shots than Lipscomb. It's just this is a theme of the week, Pete.
13 to 11 in shots, although Lipscomb did put more on net, 8 out of their 11 versus 6 out of 13 for SLU. Corners, SLU had 9, Lipscomb 4. Fouls were pretty even, 13-12. There were 5 yellows, 3 on SLU, 2 on Lipscomb. I really, like you said, Zach, like watching the first half, up 1-0 early, and then it was just like chance after chance after chance kind of breaking apart frustratingly, because you kind of thought we probably should have had a 2-0 lead. Would love to see the first half XG, right? But probably should have had a 2-0 lead. And then over the course of the first half, really in the last 10 minutes or so, it kind of fell apart a little bit. Like Lipscomb, I think, had the last 3 shots of the half. So we're out shooting them 6-1, goes into halftime, it's like 6-4. And you kind of felt at that point like, all right, reset, get some fresh legs out there, some fresh ideas. And instead, 5 minutes later, Lipscomb ties it, and all hell broke loose after that. And it was just really, really frustrating. But Zach, I think it sounds like you also had some thoughts about the official in this one.
Yeah, again, it's one of those games where you have to kind of look at the officiating. And I thought there were some kind of, cheap fouls called.
Yeah,
Obviously, I thought the penalty was nonsense. The attacker looked like he was blown over by a stiff breeze coming in off the dolphin pond.
yeah.
I just I don't understand it. A weak yellow card to Leatherman late in the game. And
I agree with that. Yeah,
I thought that was ridiculous. It was I just thought it was two guys going for the ball. And
yeah,
then of course that late call on Anderson fouling the keeper. Like I said, as a keeper played long ago, I would have done the same thing. And I like today I played a little Sunday league and the ball crossed the line and I might have just barely kept it out and pretended like it didn't go in. So yeah, I mean I get it. I take every advantage you
yeah,
can.
yeah. If there's no third official down the line there, Zach, I
No,
mean,
no.
gamesmanship of the highest order, I'd say.
Dark arts. You have to be proficient in the dark arts for when it's called upon.
Sunday
It,
League calls upon it quite a bit.
if the game's asking for it, Pete.
That's right.
Um, good Lord. Why, how, let me ask you a question. Here's the question. Is it more, is it a tougher pill to swallow? Or are you more embarrassed by being the team that celebrates a draw or the team that draws the team that celebrates the draw?
You posed this question after this tie the other night, and having a little time to think about that, I think it is more embarrassing being the other team, the one that was expected to win and is watching the other team celebrate the draw. because that's what SLU was in this one,
Yes.
Zach. This 0-0 tie at LaSalle on Saturday, the 21st. It just, you kind of thought maybe A10 play would be where things kind of break open for this team. But that's
Yeah.
not the case in the early going.
No, we're going to talk about it on the women's side, but not on the men's side. And I mean, man, as a connoisseur of ESPN Plus college broadcast, this one, man, I would have rather watched LaSalle swimming and diving at the Tom Gola Aquatic Center.
I think you'd have a better camera and lighting in that
Yes,
situation.
this was it's an odd setup over there at LaSalle
Yeah.
because they have the camera. There's a running track around the field. The camera's way back. It's kind of low, and in front of the camera at the half line on the track is there, like, it's kind of that same thing that baseball has, that same kind of fake press box. And that's it. Like, the lighting is just awful. I had no idea what was, like, you can't even tell there's stands on the other side.
This was like, the lighting, when I first turned this on, it really felt like you were watching something out of the past, right? Like, oh, this is footage, this is so-and-so's footage from his high school reel, and he didn't go to a very nice high school. Like, it's just, there's maybe 4 big light poles. They're not all pointed in the right direction. It's dark. It was so dark.
It was
dim.
so dark.
I don't think this even, like, when you watch standard definition, now that we're all used to HD everything,
it's like when you watch,
oh
what is
my
it?
God.
Fox doesn't use 1280. I think
I don't know.
But yeah, no,
know.
it felt like that. It felt like when
It's-
you go from like an AFC
Yeah.
game to an NFC game on Fox, and you're like, what happened to my screen?
I mean, this was like watching VHS tape, in the dark, poor light. Yeah, I mean, it was just not good. I was really surprised by it. Not to mention the announcer leaving really long silences between play. Like, the guy could be getting up, getting hot dogs. I have no idea.
I mean, to be honest, it's usually an improvement when that happens.
That's true. Although sometimes you were kind of like, is he still there? Did my sound go out? Like, that's the kind of thing
yes. That's
like, just remind me you're there.
Yes.
You don't have to fill all the air. There's a way to do it.
Because these broadcasts, like, we're so conditioned to how bad the broadcast can get.
Yes.
That we expect the audio to drop.
Yeah.
Like, I feel bad sometimes when I'm watching a SLU game and, like, Colin Surrey's, like, he doesn't talk for a minute, and I'll text him and be like, dude, I think the mic's out. And then he just pops back on. I'm like, shit. I thought I had it then. I thought I was helping out there.
Oh, yeah. So it was a little painful in a few different ways. Not a great broadcast, but not a great game either, Zach.
No.
SLU outshot LaSalle 16-7. Shots on goal were only 5-3. SLU's shot chart is ridiculous. I happened to look at it for this game. 10 shots from inside the box, 7 of them pretty much right in front of frame. Like, you just couldn't get a good finish on anything. Luis Lara had 5 of SLU shots. Corners, Zach, were 14-3, which I think
I disagree.
you.
I disagree.
Yeah. You said it felt like 20-25.
I mean, the LaSalle announcer, every time there was a corner, it was, and another corner for SLU, and right back another corner for SLU, and you're just like, for the love of God, put it in.
So a lot of those chances in the shot chart came from that, but, like, to not put anything in the net is just incredible on that many opportunities. Fouls were, 13 SLU, 11 LaSalle, but it got really out of hand at the end. SLU was issued 2 red cards and 3 yellows. LaSalle ended up with 4 yellow cards. Most of these came in the last 10 minutes. Max Floriani's red card was in the 82nd minute. He was on a yellow before that, so it was a second yellow. The second red card on SLU was at the end, and I think it went to the coaching staff, maybe. I mean, it just says on the SLU bench or SLU team, I can't remember how it was worded, but LaSalle wound up with another yellow at the time, so it seems like both teams just kind of got into it at the end. But the broadcast cut off, so we didn't really see that anyway. But yeah, it just seems like frustration spilling over, honestly.
Yeah, and they should be frustrated. This is again, this is a game where the team you drew threw their hands in the air in triumph for not losing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys, I mean the A10, this is I can sit and watch non-conference men's soccer and watch SLU Indiana,
Mhm.
lose to a Marshall or one of the teams that's really kind of hot in the streets now. But like the A10, man, you have got to at least put in one goal against A10 competition.
You really do. And it almost feels like LaSalle was playing for the scoreless draw. Like that was
Oh
their game
God,
plan.
yes.
Because I mean,
God,
they were packed in the box. So I
yes.
know we kind of roll our eyes at SLU's opportunities. A lot of block shots in this game, tons and tons of little, you're trying to slice through any way you can, and they're just breaking stuff up and booting
Yeah.
it. And it was not pretty stuff to watch. It was very, very frustrating. But when they celebrate the scoreless draw, it's clear that that's what they were going for.
Yeah.
It's their coach just acknowledging their talent level is so far beyond us. Here's how we get out of this game with a good result. And for them, that's what that was. Just really, really frustrating. But Zach, the bottom line for me is this feels like more of the same out of this SLU team. Win possession, generate more opportunities, finish nothing, and walk away with a tie or even a loss. We're seeing this pattern way too much over the last 2 seasons, and I can't figure it out.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see a little more urgency. Obviously, there are tactical and personnel decisions that are way above my understanding of the game. But I just would like to see a little more urgency, going forward early in the game. Try to get out and punch teams in the mouth. You are the better team. At this point, you're looking at, you know, the A10 championship or nothing with when it comes to the NCAA tournament. And that's
Yeah.
fine. That's gonna happen. I have no delusions of this team every year in, year out, making an NCAA tournament, but like you've got to compete for an NCAA tournament every year
Yeah.
and compete for that A10 championship. So
I think it's what the program has to
yeah.
expect is an NCAA tournament appearance every year.
Uh, What I do expect is fireworks at halftime on September 28th. Saturday, the Billikens take on Loyola at Herman Stadium. Uh, it's a 30-minute delayed start for the fireworks at halftime. This is the big one. It's going to be packed. It always is.
Mhm.
Annalise Piven and the alumni always put on a fantastic homecoming event. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, they can come out with a win.
Yeah, I always love the homecoming game. That was one of my favorite nights on campus every year.
It feels like it's kind of lost. It's like I don't like. I'm not saying it's. I think it might be just a personal thing. Like it just doesn't feel exciting for me. There was my family members that would go, don't go, or aren't around anymore. So it's like it just doesn't have that same.
It seems like they still draw the same amount. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh
for,
yeah.
from my perspective, unfortunately, it's just time, right? It's just
Yeah.
you know,
It was always on the calendar back in the day, and I guess
yeah.
now that I don't have certain relatives anymore that keep it on the calendar, it's just hard for me to get up
Mhm.
for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, on the women's side of things, it was a completely different story, Pete. They finished the week 2-0 to start conference play, but they're in both rankings this week after being not ranked the previous.
Yeah, they were 23rd in the official poll, the coaches poll last week, and then 22nd coming into this week, 24th in the top drawer soccer poll after dropping out, as you said, the week before. And then in the RPI, the initial release on the 16th, they were 47th. So I think that's probably going to go up from these results, even though George Washington probably, wasn't the highest rated team. But Zach, they got it off to a good start with a 1-0 win at UMass on Thursday the 19th. And 1-0 might not really, stand out to you, but this was a pretty good UMass team. And your first note here is that this was a slow field. I could tell right away that
Oh,
the grass looked so long. I was like, oh, this is like a high school field, like not a great high school field.
it's like
That
playing at Coke Park.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just some really long grass that I think it looks like you thought it had an impact on the game for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I thought it caused a lot of problems for the Billiken back line. Uh, a lot of passes you look at them and you'd characterize them as lazy if you weren't really paying attention.
Mhm.
Because I don't think they were lazy. I think it's just a matter of, not being used to that long grass. And I mean, I think Atlantic 10 programs that play on natural surface would be smart to
Yeah.
slow the Billikens down, which is funny because I do think the Billiken, I don't like when SLU plays on turf either. So like when
Mhm.
it's too short or too long, I don't like watching SLU. I fear for the Big L.
Yeah. We really get used to the pace of Herman, which is a really well capped grass field,
Yeah,
right? So there's just a certain style and pace that come with that. And you go on the road and you play on like a flat piece of turf, or in this case, you play in like somebody's lawn, and the ball just doesn't move the same.
got some Zoysia.
Yeah. Yeah. It looked like a well kept front yard.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a strategy. I think, is UMass deliberately growing their grass out to stop Katie Shields, Emily Gaby, Hannah Sawyer? Maybe, possibly. I don't think you should ever. I think you should, honestly, if you can, cut your field to suit your style of play. Go. That's why people build baseball teams for their baseball stadium, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the UMass, saw that a lot of these passes were slow and they high pressed, and it caused the Billikens to hurry. And I mean, there was at least one turnover that led to a shot on goal. So I mean, UMass pressure. This isn't the same UMass team that like we're used to. This is a team that's been together for a while. That's kind of improved their way to they're going to be looking for a top three finish this year.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, they looked way better than last year. And I'll kind of fast forward to the end because like we have the note in here, like that was 6-0 last season. They came to SLU and they got their butts kicked. And it makes sense that they're better this year. They have a dozen fourth or fifth year players on the roster now. They're a little, they're a lot more experienced. They're more familiar with this SLU team. So it's kind of it does make sense that they improved a lot and playing up at their place on their field, it is different. So if you had kind of a false sense of confidence based on that 6-0 result last year, there definitely were a lot of mitigating circumstances to that. But yeah, getting that result on the road is key, Zach. But why don't you tell us about some of the goals and opportunities here?
Yeah, sorry, my wireless mouse just died. So give me yeah, Elise Lee kind of got things going for the Billikens. I think it was Elise Lee. It's hard to tell. Because I was watching on my phone. Uh but she hit a rocket off the crossbar. Sawyer was there for a point blank rebound, and that was saved. I don't think the keeper knew much about it, but nonetheless, it was repelled. But in the 63rd minute, Hope Kim gets the game's only goal on assist from Ashley Miller, no relation. So it was two freshmen making the connection to get the win. Of course, it was Hope Kim's first career goal. Pete, tell us how it happened.
Yeah, so the cross came from the right corner. It appeared to glance off the charging UMass keeper, who deflected it right to Kim at about waist level. So she just let it kind of bounce down and then tapped it into the net. It wasn't the prettiest goal, but it was a big one. And it was really, it showed a lot of poise on her part, I thought, because a lot of younger, less experienced players would kind of panic there and maybe not actually, maybe like try and do too much to get it down to their foot and wait for a defender to get over and just, muck up the play before the goalie can jump on it kind of thing. But she just didn't panic and let her body just kind of take it in there. So I was really impressed with that goal.
Yeah, it was one of those where you couldn't really tell exactly when she kind of put the ball in. You
Right.
couldn't tell if it was that first kick or it was she walked it in. Because she could have
Yeah,
walked
more
it
or
in, I would
less.
have had no idea.
Yeah. Right.
An outstanding play late after a Billiken corner. Really, I thought there was really nice defensive play in this one. UMass did have their fair share, but one of those defensive plays was actually in the offensive end. A Billiken corner was caught by the UMass keeper. She tried to distribute quickly out wide via the throw. And either Simon or Larson, again, I was watching on my phone, and they, both, they are almost the identical numbers, same hair color and
Right.
size, same position. They stuffed it out pretty quickly. Really read it super well. And then of course this one really ended on a bit of it, it was nervy at the end. Naya Hislop, fun fact, daughter of Shaka Hislop. If you're a big footy fan of the Premier League, took a shot from just outside the area. It was the last shot of the game, and it went straight at Percelli, and everybody could exhale.
Yeah.
This
Yeah, for
one was
sure.
all SLU, I think, as far as kind of the attacking stats go.
Yeah, so statistically, SLU outshot UMass 8-5 on
18 to
goal.
5.
Sorry, I'm sorry, 18-5. Shots on goal were 7-4. Corners were just 3-2. And then fouls, UMass 9, SLU 7. Emily Percelli had 4 saves for the clean sheet. And it was just, like we said, a much better UMass team, but still outshooting them 18-5. You want to see maybe a couple more of those go in.
Yeah. Obviously, a much better UMass team. We've talked about it, and I think this is a big time road win in conference, especially. You put a team that's going to have aspirations to come at you in the tournament. And you make sure you're going to finish the season ahead of them.
Right.
Any takeaways here? I mean, again, it's a great road win. Anything you saw out there that left you with concern?
Just finishing. I that's really all it comes down to me. To me is they just have to finish. This is kind of like, we've seen a lot of performances like this from them over the years where they'll have in the high teens to mid 20s shots in a game and only put 1 or 2 of them in the back of the net. And so I just want to see them kind of be more efficient with their finishing. And that's really it for me. You're going to be playing on different surfaces more of the season that I think will be more beneficial to this SLU team. I thought that was a real home field advantage here, but look, this is the last time they'll ever play at UMass,
Oh
barring
my God. R.I.P. in peace.
barring a non-conference agreement that I don't think they're going to make. So, so no, that's really my only takeaway, Zach.
Why would you want to play a MAC team?
Yeah, no kidding. And
Uh,
travel to Springfield, Massachusetts for the honor.
you mentioned finishing, and finish the Billikens did in their next game at home, Sunday the 22nd, against the George Washingtons, a 4-0 win. It started fast and furious, Pete. It started with a 4th-minute goal by, stop me if you heard this one before, Emily Gaby.
Yeah, she got us off to an early start off a Julia Simon assist, a really crafty play that started with Elise Lay. So it was just kind of a nice, not quite a give and go, but a really nice assist from her to slot it in to Gaby to get us on the board early. And then Zach, later that minute, it was like 50 seconds later, Hannah Sawyer made it 2-0. And did you saw this goal, right?
Yes. Is this would you consider this one a piss rocket?
I would. I absolutely
Okay.
would. A volley from what to me this looks like
Half
40
volley.
sorry, half volley because it came off the GW player's head and bounced and she just ran into it with everything and just kicked it out of the air. Everything she had she might have been what 40 yards away at this point.
She was
Yeah,
a long way out there, Pete.
she was. She was, but she put it high into the net from all the way out there. It was
Keeper made a good play on it. I thought the
keeper
keeper
made it.
did.
I think the keeper even might have just the ball like kind of glanced off her fingertips. She wasn't completely out of position to get it, but Sawyer put it just high enough, to where unless you're really tall or can jump really high, she put it in the perfect spot.
21st minute, Riley Howard. We're gonna see a couple first-time goal scorers in this one, Pete. We'll start with Riley Howard in the 21st minute. Scored her first Billiken goal off a Hannah Sawyer assist. a miss really because it was off a rebound
Yeah,
that counted as an assist for sure. That's the beauty of goal sports, Pete. You can
it
try
is.
to score and then look like you were lending a helping hand.
When Hannah Sawyer shows up with an assist, you know it's a missed shot. It's not she didn't necessarily intend to pass that one, but good for Riley getting in the score sheet. And then Lucy Schwartz, Zach, in the 31st minute, scored off her own rebound to make it 4-0 in the first half. And this one really, really felt like it was completely out of hand by this point.
Betlock called game, I think. And yeah, they played it opened the Billikens up to playing a lot of players that haven't got any minutes and
Yep.
sitting a lot of players who have played a lot of minutes in a very tough, tough non-conference schedule, including Namu Karani, who played the entire second half, much like she did, I believe, in the SIUE game.
Yep.
So yeah, she came in for Emily Percelli in net and played really well. There were a couple of interesting moments late that ended up harmless, but a couple of little rusty moments, a little
Mhm.
miscommunications. But you know, they finished off with the shutout. Do you ever? I mean, you got to think that like the pressure when you're Nimmo coming in and you gotta hold that shutout for one of the best goalkeepers in the country.
Yeah, you do, but it really is. I think it's pressure on all the reserves, right? Because your minutes are so spare compared to the
Yeah.
starters and the the top reserves who come in on off the bench in every game. A lot of the people who got out into this game had not played yet this season or hadn't played much this season, and so you have very limited opportunities to make an impression, and the pressure you can put on yourself to not make mistakes in those situations is, I think, often is going to outweigh the pressure just to perform at a high level. And so yeah, you do see some stuff like you mentioned when you have literally all of the reserves who play the least out there. But I thought overall they did fine. They did about as well as you could expect, given those circumstances. And um, you wish they would have had some of them would have had more opportunities earlier this season, but you had games like the Kansas City game that didn't wind up being what we thought it would be and stuff like that. So it was really fun to see them all out there, nevertheless. And Shields, Zach, I'm going to skip to the end of her quote for this. She was particularly happy for Autumn Jackson to get into this game. She had 15 minutes, and Shields said she wasn't just out there, but she was getting involved and impacting the game, which is a huge step for a player who's been out 2 years with a knee injury, right? Like the end of her high school and beginning of her college career. And Shields said she was just doing everything right to
Yeah.
get back out there. This was the red shirt freshman's collegiate debut. So shout out to her to getting out there, getting in the mix, and hopefully the knee holds up for the rest of her career.
Yeah, she was great and she got a lot of praise from Dan Betlock on the broadcast. Well earned as well.
The
Uh
team, the fans, everybody was
yes.
super
Yeah.
jazzed every time she touched the ball.
And she played very well. It wasn't that she, like you said, it wasn't that she was just out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like
Um
Shields said, but yeah.
well, yes, you miss 100% of the
Me quoting
shots you
her.
don't take. Michael Scott, Wayne Gretzky, Peter Hale.
Mhm.
Run us down the stats real quick.
Yeah, so it was 25-7 in shots, and like you said, a few of George Washington's came late. Shots on goal were 13-3 in SLU's favor. Corners were 12-5. GW did out foul SLU 10-6. This was SLU's fourth win in a row after that tie at Creighton. Things are definitely headed in the right direction, and Katie Shields agrees. She said that was an awesome start. That's the start we were searching for. Credit to the group. They embraced it. They got after it. Hannah Sawyer had a tremendous impact on that start. You make things a lot easier for yourself when you're able to be on the front foot, put away chances, and take over the game. She said they're pointed in the correct direction. She said Howard has been dangerous in practice lately, so it was great to see her get a goal. They identified a lot of plays at UMass that should have turned into goals, and basically those were the things that did become goals in the first half of this game. So it's so satisfying for a coach, right? When you're coming off a game where probably should have won by a goal or two more, to then in the next game do all of those things right, and those kind of opportunities do become goals. So, very, very satisfying win for her, for the team. Glad everybody got out there, and I hope those reserves get some more minutes as we get deeper into A10 play.
Next up will be their homecoming game at Herman Stadium on the 26th. That's Thursday against Loyola. Of course, the men's and women's games bookend a nice 3-day Billiken weekend with the Billiken bet what's the name of it? Billiken basketball night. I think that's what they're calling it.
Yeah, I think that's all it's called.
Let's talk a little volleyball. Let's run through their results at the Quick Start Classic in Coralville, Iowa. Pete, run us down their 3-2 loss against Drake on Thursday the 19th.
Yeah, Coralville, just one town over from Iowa City. Why it was held there and not in Iowa City on campus, I don't know. But nevertheless, it was a 3-2 loss against Drake on Thursday the 19th, 18-25, 25-23, 20-25, 25-22, and then 13-15. Drake got out to a 7-1 lead in the fifth set. SLU came back to make it close. I think it was 10-9 at one point. But unfortunately, Drake got away. So this was a really, really close one. Addie Bruce led SLU with 20 kills, added 14 digs, I'm guessing. I wrote kills twice for the double-double. Delaney Rice had 10 blocks and 17 kills for a double-double. Addie Lyon, 25 assists and 12 digs. Kate Opperly, 23 assists and 11 digs, had double-doubles. Carly Rogers led the Bills with a season-high 30 digs, though. It was a really even match statistically. It could have gone either way. They just got into too much of a hole in that fifth frame, unfortunately.
They followed that up with a 3-1 win against Iowa on Friday the 20th. Iowa, tough. They have a tough road to hoe in the Big Ten. They finished last in previous season, but anytime you can pick up a road win against a Big Ten team, I think that's a nice little feather in your cap that can just only serve to give you some positive momentum going forward. As a 3-1 win, 20-25, they dropped that first set and then came back to win 3 straight. So again, that's dominating performance over 3 sets, regardless. Addie Bruce led SLU with 23 kills. Lyon had 31 assists. Rogers 16 digs. Luckett had 6 blocks. The errors were rough for both sides, 25-24. Not a clean game from either squad. Iowa's not gonna do so hot this year.
No.
No.
I mean, like I saw them and just assumed, I was like, oh, this is a Big Ten team. So like
Yeah.
even a bottom half Big Ten team, as we saw against a bottom half SEC team earlier this season, that's a tough assignment.
Yes.
But Iowa is terrible.
Yeah, they're
So
not so good.
wow, Zach.
I really thought, I thought the Billikens had a chance to win three matches this weekend, and unfortunately, they dropped the third one. I mean, obviously they dropped the first one, but I mean, you look at it going 5 sets. You look at how close that fifth set was. If you don't give up those 7 points in in that initial part of the fifth set, you're looking at a different result there potentially, which then puts you in an opportunity to beat South Dakota. And I don't think South Dakota was all that special. I thought they were a good team, but the Billikens dropped this one 3-1.
Yeah, they did. It was 22-25, 16-25, 25-23, 28-30. So that last one was fun.
Yeah.
But both teams had multiple set points in the long fourth set, but the Coyotes ultimately pulled it out. Trinity Luckett led SLU with 15 kills, 7 blocks, and a .591 hitting percentage. Addie Lyon, 26 assists and 9 digs. Carly Rogers had 21 digs. And yeah, you're right, Zach. I mean, it just seems like these were all winnable, but unfortunately, this one just got out to a bad start, especially in that second frame.
Yeah, the frustrating thing, I think, with that match against South Dakota, and I'm trying to find the play-by-play here in the fourth set. It ended, let's see. It looks like the Billikens, you've got an attack error by Teja Kalajic, an attack error by Addy Bush. Just going back from the 28th point, right? Where the Billikens had set points and they had it on their hand, right? They had an attacking opportunity and they did not convert. An attack error by Teja Kalajic, an attack error by Addy Bruce, an attack error by Teja Kalajic, an attack error by Teja Kalajic. I mean, I hate to dump on Teja here, but like you cannot, you have that many opportunities to put a match away on your side of the net. You cannot make this is when you can't make errors in crunch time, and unfortunately that's what the Billikens did, and that caused them to lose. In that fourth set, of course, there was an attack error by Addy Bruce. So again, it's frustrating. Just errors.
Yeah.
Passing and hitting errors. Let's see. Trinity Luckett had 15 kills, 7 blocks, 591 hitting percentage. Addie Lyon at 26 assists, 9 digs. Carly Rogers, 21 digs. They'll head to Fordham on the 27th and 28th to open up A10 play. Pete, field hockey. 3-1L against Richmond on Friday the 20th.
Yeah, all the scoring came in the second quarter. It was kind of weird that way, but
first goal not scored by Josefina Perez.
Yeah, and it was is it Shea or Shia? I think it's Shia, right?
I go with Shia dry.
She had SLU's only goal, assisted by Abby Vitas. The goal came less than a minute after Richmond's first, but then the Spiders got 2 quick ones right before halftime, which wound up being the last of the scoring. They outshot SLU 13-6, and shots on goal were 8-4. The Spiders had 7 penalty corners to SLU's 2. Zach, Richmond was picked to finish 4th in the league, so SLU should be more competitive, with the other 3 teams expected to finish behind them: LaSalle, Lockhaven, and Davidson, and we'll find out pretty soon on one of those. But first, Zach, they got their first win on the new turf, 7-1 over Frostburg State on Sunday the 22nd, and without looking,
then Maryland.
Can you tell me? Oh, you knew it was in Maryland.
No, okay. I just heard.
You heard?
I heard.
All right.
I was told.
You throw me trivia questions, and I'm never ready.
Division 2, Frostburg State, out of Maryland. They are I have no idea. I don't do Division 2, but I will. The Wildcats. I think they're the Wildcats. Which Bobcats. Which bums me out, Pete. When your name is Frostburg, how do you not go with the Utah Hockey Club colors, with the light blue or the white, ice? You don't embrace. Yeah. How do you not embrace Frost and Berg?
You got to lean into that. Gatorade, you're not Frost.
Why are
all
the
of the
Frostburg
gums that are blue, icy blast, blue and white? Yeah.
Yeah, the Frostburg Bears, the polar bear. What are we doing here?
Yeah,
the Penguins.
Colors, they're red and white, and they're the Bobcats. None of it goes together.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Hire me as your rebrand consultant.
But for a Division 2 team, they're actually not bad. They entered the game 3-2 with wins over Malloy, Maryville, and Lander, and then losses to Slippery Rock and number 9 Pace. Those were the Pace game was actually really close. So I thought, well, if they're a decent Division 2 game, this is not a sure thing. But then Zach, we saw kind of a scoring outburst.
This is wild. I don't even know. I don't know what to do here. Sierra Larson scored in the middle of the first quarter. And it was 1-0 heading into halftime. Then SLU exploded in the third, scoring 4 goals. Ignacia Manriquez, Josefina Perez, Abby Vitas, and Olivia Smith all tallied goals for the Bills. Perez and Bryn Newborn scored in the fourth quarter. Frostburg State's only goal came between the 6th and 7th for the Billikens. Larson tied a school record with 3 assists. It's not Hannah Larson, people. Brooke Weaver was the last to do it back in 2011 when I was in school. SLU's 7 goals were the most the Bills have scored in a match since 2002 against Rhodes College.
When I was in school.
The Billikens outshot Frostburg State 26-2 and 16-1 in shots on goal. Billikens had 9 penalty corners to the Bobcats 1. This is cathartic, it feels like, for a program that just hasn't had a lot to cheer about, and they get this field, and now they have a game where they can kick some ass, and that's good to see.
Not just not having a lot to cheer about, but like no lucky breaks. Like
No,
their games statistically are always, well, not always, but like
they seem to go to
so
overtime a
often
lot.
they're very even. That, you know, similar in shots, all of those things, and they lose by one.
Something
It's
really stupid happens.
yes, yeah. So like this, you're right. Cathartic is the right word for this one.
They will head to Philadelphia to play LaSalle on the 27th, and I assume Sacred Heart is somewhere in that area because they play them on Sunday the 29th.
Yeah, that's up in Pennsylvania, I think.
Pete, tell us about some running and some big news
No,
on the
Sacred
running
Heart's
front
in
too.
Fairfield, Connecticut. My mistake.
We,
Yeah,
we didn't
big
have it in
news.
the notes. How did you not put this in the notes?
What did I not put in the notes? The where Sacred Heart is,
You're
or
kidding me. Parker Allen just committed to Billiken cross country, and you're asking where you. God damn it, Peter!
You know, Zach,
wake up!
you have access to this document as well. I just want to remind you. Just a reminder. You know, if I forget,
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
So that's the big news. Yeah, Chris Allen, current Marquette women's soccer head coach, former SLU assistants women's soccer coach, friend of the show. Parker, his daughter, committed to SLU to be a cross country runner, right?
Yeah.
Next season. So that's great. Very excited for the Allen family for that one, and glad they were able to keep her a Billiken and not a flyer.
This was super weird because it was like, I thought, because it was like, oh, she's coming home. And I was like, wait a minute. Did she go to another school? Like, is she transferring back?
Yeah.
And then I remembered that he had moved away.
Right. I know, it's funny. But the Billiken Cross Country Invitational, Saturday the 21st at St. Vincent Park. Both the men and women finished first overall. The men beat Newman, McKendree, and Kaskaskia. Freshman Manny Vela won the 8K with a time of 27:22.5. Tyler Schweitzer was second at 27:40.1. So the freshman Manny can really run. Wow. Women had the same opponents except without McKendree. Emily Morden won with a time of 18:33.4, and Emery Mayfield was just 3 seconds behind her in second place. So a nice showing for the Bills on a hot, muggy Saturday morning, unseasonably hot. I know they like a little bit cooler weather by now. Next up for them is the Gans Creek Classic on Friday the 27th in Columbia, Missouri, where I think they just ran a few weeks ago, Zach.
Yeah, they did. This will be their second trip. That's a really, like, it's so interesting to see like actual cross country facilities.
Right.
Like, I'm gonna be honest, SLU's never gonna have a cross country facility. That's just how it's gonna go. And that's fine.
I don't even know how they would do it.
I would, yeah, I don't. Maybe, I mean, is there enough grass through campus? That would be wild. Have them run across Grand and shit.
that would make it like it's the ultimate cross country course. It would be really hard to close off even walk all the walkways they would need to. It's just not that kind of campus, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's gonna do it for us. Again, thank you all so much for listening. We're getting so close to basketball season. Please hang with us. It's gonna be a hell of a basketball season. We're gonna try to do some new stuff. We're gonna try some stuff, I think, this year. Maybe bring in new types of content. Who knows? We'll see. Make sure you're subscribing on all platforms. Get those automatic downloads going, man. That helps us. Reviews, recommendations, comments, likes, tweets, all of it, no matter how small, helps in a little bit. Thank you to everyone. We appreciate it. Go Bills.
Go Bills.